Hi, I'm Tom Barrett, and I'm talking with Susan Russo, who's the author of the popular blog Food Blogga. Susan is a member of Ketchum's Food and Social Media Advisory Group, and we're talking today about how to build an audience. Hi, Susan.
Hi, TW.
Susan, how did you get started blogging?
Well, about 3 years ago, my husband and I went home to Rhode Island for Christmas Eve. And since we both come from large Italian families, they like to send us home with a lot more food than what we came with. So we arrived in Rhode Island with 2 pieces of luggage, but we left Rhode Island with 3 pieces of luggage, one of which was filled completely with food. So when we got to the airport, a security guard flagged my bag and pulled me over, and I thought, oh great, what did I do this time? And he starts rummaging through my bag. He's this big beefy guy, kind of like he's from The Sopranos, and he says to me, I gotta keep looking through this bag because there's something in here. I said, okay, that's fine, go through the bag. And he pulls out this big tinfoil wrapped cinder block, and he picks it up, and he gets it close, and he takes a sniff, and he says, Reggiano Parmigiana? And I say, yeah, from my father. And he says, nice, you have a good trip. And he gives me my cheese back, we put it back in the bag, and we leave. And when we get to the gate, my husband and I are laughing, and I say, I could write a book about all the things that happened to us in Rhode Island. And he says, well, everyone who writes a book has to start a blog first, so why don't you start a blog? So we came home the next night, and I started a blog.
So with that story, you suddenly had an audience developing around your family stories and the kind of food that you grew up with.
Yes.
How do you keep an audience and make them feel part of a community?
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned my family stories because I think that was the main draw for people when I started blogging. I have always included pictures, stories, and recipes. So of course you want a delicious picture to entice people. But for me especially, the stories were always so important because it gave people insight into who I was as a person. So they knew that I came from Rhode Island and that I came from an Italian family, and I shared a lot of my family recipes. And then it also gave them insight into who I am now and how I've changed. Where I live now, I'm in California, and I'm married, and the types of foods I eat, and the farmers markets I go to. So it becomes a relationship, so they feel like I'm their friend. It's somebody who they can sit down with, over coffee and share a story with, even though it's done virtually. And it compels them to comment. So they'll leave a comment on my blog, I'll respond to that comment, and we communicate that way. And then I try to expand beyond that so that they realize it's not just the small food blogger community, but it's a larger community, such as I'll follow them on Facebook or I'll follow them on Twitter and I retweet what they blog about, and we continue our conversation elsewhere so that you create a larger community.
Why do you think food is such an important element of the online community overall?
I have online friends who live in Tibet and Argentina and all over the United States. And a lot of these people I never would have met if it weren't for online food communities. And I think that's because food is a universal language. When you think about it, we have physical barriers and we have language barriers, but something we can all talk about is food. We can all see pictures of it on a screen. And the thing with food is that we all buy food, we prepare food, we eat food, and we share food. So all cultures, even though the specific ingredients may vary or the recipes may vary, we all share that desire to sit down and share food with people we love and with our friends. And when you think about all the feasts we have and the holidays we have and so many of our traditions and our cultural beliefs, they're all reflected in the foods that we eat and that we share. And that's something that works brilliantly online because you don't need to be somewhere to get it. You can relate to people just by showing pictures and telling stories online.
Susan, as you look at what's going on out there in the blogosphere and online, what should food companies think about as they look to build communities around their brands and their products?
I think it's important to remember that building a community is not marketing. Think about it this way. If you were invited out to dinner and the person sitting next to you was a real estate agent, and she started telling you about how now was the time that you had to buy, and don't wait any longer, and I've got these 3 great listings, and you need to look at these now, you'd get turned off pretty quickly because you'd think, I'm just here to have a good time, and I really don't want to be pitched and marketed to. And I think it's the same thing with online communities. Companies who just promote their product run the risk of alienating consumers. Consumers like companies who feel real to them, who feel honest, and who care about what they think. So it's important to keep in mind, ask your customers, what is it that you like about our products? How do you use them? How do they affect your life? And then to also, from the company's perspective, think about the stories that you can tell. What are the stories behind your products that people will relate to or that will resonate, that will make a difference in their lives? Are you the young, hip company? Are you the company that's going to help young, hairy moms with 3 and 4 kids get dinner on the table more easily? Are you all about promoting a nutritious, wholesome lifestyle? Think about what it is that you want to convey and then find those stories to share with people, because it's the stories that people will remember and that will make them attracted to you and then ultimately want to buy your product and not feel pressured into doing so.
What companies do you think are doing a good job online creating communities, and why?
I think that Starbucks does a fabulous job on Twitter. Starbucks is a global brand, but they use Twitter to make themselves feel personal and real. They have over 1 million people who follow them on Twitter, and if you, any day, just take a look at some of their Twitter pages, you'll go down maybe 25 tweets, and maybe 2 or 3 are actually about Starbucks products, and the rest of them are just talking to people, asking people, hey, what did you have for breakfast this morning? Did you know about, this particular type of coffee roast? This is how this is made. How do you bake with coffee? Share your recipes with us. So they use it to actually talk to people and make themselves feel like their friend. So then that way, when they do put up a tweet that says, hey, don't forget to buy our, spicy pumpkin latte coming out next week, people don't feel offended by that. They say, oh yeah, that's a great idea. I'm looking forward to that, because they feel like they've already developed a relationship with that person. As far as Facebook is concerned, I think the Wrigley Company has done a fabulous job creating a following of 9 million people for their brand of Skittles, the candy that we all know and love. The thing that's so great about it is whoever is creating the Facebook posts for Skittles gets it. They know what people are looking for. They post about once a day. It's usually something funny and playful. For example, last week in August, when it was still really hot, they put a post up that said, this has been a really rough month for my ice cube garden. Well, 11,000 people took the time to like it, and 1,100 people took the time to comment on it. And that's amazing that many people would take the time to do that, because they've come to expect every day from Skittles their little daily dose of humor and fun. And so they may not be able to actually have the rainbow fun candy in their hand, but they still get the experience of like feeling like a kid again. And that's a brilliant way to, to promote your brand, but to do it in a fun, interactive, human kind of a way.
Thanks, Susan.
Thank you, TW. This was fun.